This is Election 2020, New Mexico House District 53. I'm Fred Martino, KRWG Public Media and the League of Women Voters, pleased to present today's forum. The rules are simple. The candidates have up to 90 seconds to answer each question and should not mention their opponent in the answer. My co-host is League Co-President Kathy Brook, and we welcome candidate Ricky Little. Willie Madrid declined our invitation. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Fred.
Well, Ricky, to start with, for the first question, in what ways, if any, should the tax system in New Mexico be reformed? Explain.
Okay. Our tax in the state of New Mexico is a little bit rough. Gross receipts tax is just a tax pyramiding. And so I believe we need to do like most every other state in the U.S. has sales tax. And the pyramiding just adds tax upon tax. I think people will see how much tax they're paying. That would be the first thing that we need to do. And it's a major overhaul. So it's something that needs to be done now. And we tried that back 3 years ago when I was in the legislature. We were trying to get that pushed through, and we thought we had it going, but then we just couldn't quite. The conservative side of the aisle couldn't quite get everything pushed through to make it happen. And then the other thing I think we should need to do in our tax system is we give tax incentives to businesses, and I think we need to make that all on an equal basis of tax incentives that are equal across the board, rather than choosing one business over another business and giving them a lot more tax incentive. And matter of fact, with the film industry, it's a full rebate. It's not even a tax incentive. And I think we need to be equal across the board. It's not right for other businesses to pay tax incentives and not get as much as other companies. We shouldn't be in the system of choosing which businesses are going to work in New Mexico and which aren't. I think we ought to make it equal for all of them.
Okay, thank you. Kathy.
Ricky, should it be legal in New Mexico for a physician to assist a patient in dying? Explain.
Well, I have deep religious views on this. I really believe that we were created in God's image, and we're the image of God. And so I believe that that's not up to human beings to really make that decision. And I know it's tough when there's pain and there's you're going to die and it's going to happen. But I just don't believe that is something that we need to do. I don't think that we as human beings should be making those kind of choices. Now to have hospice and to try to make things as easy as possible, I think is the things that we need to be working on rather than assisting somebody to, in essence, it would be to kill themselves.
Ricky, starting pay for teachers is nearly 20% lower in New Mexico as compared to districts in El Paso, which start at more than $50,000 a year. How do you assess efforts to make the state's salaries more competitive?
Well, yeah, and that is a problem. As a matter of fact, when I was in the legislature 3 years ago, we had bills that we gave a larger incentive to first-time teachers. I was on the education committee, and it was $2,000 for every teacher, and it even had a 2% raise on there for staff. But then it had an extra $2,000 for new teachers coming into the state of New Mexico. And we did not get that. It was a Republican bill, and we had it in the education committee, and the teachers union stood up against it and said they didn't like it because they weren't getting a lot of other stuff that they wanted. But we should try to make that more, especially around the edge of the state. We're going to have to do something, or we will lose all of our teachers. I know we have lost quite a few, and we've got good teachers here, and to try to pay them. Now, I believe also that there is in the budget, we spend more per child in the state of New Mexico than every state around us that's adjacent to us that touches us. And so I don't believe it's necessarily the money thing. It's where we're putting the money and how we're spending the money. We should be our education should be going towards CTE, career technical education, along with a career path type of an education, and more life skills than the things that we're doing now. Instead of trying to send every kid to college, which only 30 to 35% of our kids go to college, which means we're leaving the majority in the dust. And that's why we have a large dropout rate in Albuquerque, I believe. If they were doing something that they enjoyed, like even making cars jump or something, I think that would be something that we should be working with them on.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
Ricky, are you satisfied with the amount of money that was allocated to the Early Childhood Trust Fund during the 2020 legislative session? Explain.
Well, to tell you the truth, I am not for the Early Childhood Trust Fund, and I definitely do not want to take it out of the permanent permanent fund. The lower we lower the permanent fund, the less money goes to education. New Mexico is responsible for, in our Constitution, from 1 to 12, and I believe that's the places that we really ought to be trying to strengthen and do. And I really believe that it'd be nice to help out, and we already have social services and different services to help out our parents and our little children to learn and do what. But that's another thing we should be teaching in our 1 to 12 education is child rearing and those kind of things, because we're all going to end up doing it. And I think that's a very, very important point. But I am not on for putting more money into early childhood education. I think really that's parents' responsibility, and we should be trying to help the parents do what they can with their children. I think it's a bonding time for children, and I don't think that I really have a problem with public education indoctrinating our children into certain things that are just not right and not true.
Thank
Ricky,
you. Fred?
thank you. Ricky, should New Mexico continue to tax Social Security benefits? Explain.
No, I don't. Social Security has already been taxed once, and you pay into it, and I really believe it's not your income anymore. It should be a fund that is there for you, and especially when if Social Security was taken care of by our I'll just say government, or our federal government, the way it should be, that money should have been our money, should have been put into the stock market or somewhere to make funds, instead of sitting in federal government money where it makes no interest and doesn't help anybody. If you put it into a certain type system like stock market and stuff, we could at least gain money on it, and it would get larger, to where now we've got a place where they've even taken money out because there was so much money sitting there, and now it's going to be a defunct system, and it should have never even got to that point. So no, I don't believe we should do that whatsoever. We're going to have to do what we can to make it work.
Thank you. Kathy?
Ricky, what should the legislature do to improve the New Mexico economy and ensure job growth? Explain.
Well, I believe that especially here, the money is being brought in for our funds, for the general fund in the state of New Mexico, really is people working. And I really believe that we should be doing everything possible to try to keep people in their jobs and keep people working in their job. Just before COVID hit, we had job creation. We had unemployment was low. Things were working out, and people had jobs. Now, I believe the same incentives are I will say that our the department that brings in that tries to bring business into the state of New Mexico has done really well at trying to do that with incentives, with job incentives, where we help pay for jobs for beginning and different type of jobs that we don't have here. There's just a lot that we're already doing to bring money in. But I think the main thing is we need to have a rainy day fund. Should be what we should be doing with the extra monies that we do have when oil and gas is in a boom, and then that will hold us over for when they're in the bust periods and when the money is low, and that will keep things running on an even scale. As far as bringing more business into New Mexico, I think our economic development department is doing. We're doing about everything we can do to bring more business in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. Ricky, do you favor the legalization of recreational marijuana in New Mexico? Explain.
Yeah. I I almost feel like I want to be a libertarian in this particular place and say, oh yeah, let's bring in the money and do whatever. But as a conservative, I look at it. I don't have a problem with medical marijuana whatsoever. I think it's great. It's a drug. It's to be used for whatever good. When it comes to recreational marijuana, when I look at it, I just have to think about what are we going to do about the driving while under the influence? What are we going to do with small amounts? I mean, all of these things, and it is still illegal with the federal government, which gives us a problem. And then I don't believe because it was illegal for so long, and we didn't do the research on it either. We don't know in long term how this is going to affect people that use it for recreational use and whatever. And I'm just, as a conservative, I just don't feel like I'm looking to the future and not just right now. And I feel like that down in the future that it's not looking good to just legalize it. Alcohol is the same thing. I know prohibition doesn't work, and but we've still got issues with alcohol, mental illness, driving while intoxicated, and those kind of things that we have to deal with. And until we do more research on it and see how it affects the mind specifically and what it does, I think we shouldn't legalize it.
Thank you. Kathy.
Ricky, name at least one amendment to the state constitution, the New Mexico Constitution, that you support or oppose, and explain.
Are we talking about the federal government constitution?
No, the state constitution, New Mexico.
You know what? I'm just not real sure what the amendments are on the New Mexico Constitution at this particular time. Hit me with one, and I'll let you know where I'm at.
Well, why don't we move on?
Okay.
Next question. Thank
All
you.
right. Next question. Ricky, do you support any adjustments to current gun regulations? Explain.
I believe in Second Amendment rights. I believe it is everybody's right to be able to carry a firearm, and one thing I do not want to see us do is registration of guns. I believe it's our right, and I'm not sure that I really want the federal government or state governments having a list of everyone that owns guns. I believe that criminals, when they get their guns, it's usually from theft, black market, and those kind of places. They're not going to go out and buy guns. So all it does is restrict people who legally want to own guns to own guns. I don't like the red flag law, which was just gone through this last time. I believe if I have a gun and I'm a responsible gun owner, I should be able to give my gun to my family or friends or whatever else at my discretion. I think it would deter crime if criminals knew that when they went up to a house that there's possibility of a gun in that house. And if it was wide open, I think that would be the best place for us to be.
Ricky, should New Mexico promote renewable energy, and if so, how?
Well, I'm not a big renewable energy fan. Renewable energies are unreliable at this point. Should we do more research? Absolutely. And I think New Mexico State and UNM, I think we need to we've got to get into where the storage works out a whole lot better and a whole lot cheaper. The mandates that we put on, especially this last year to make the mandates higher, I don't think we've even reached the mandates that we had from when I was in the legislature. And renewable energies, whether people believe it or not, the free energy is not free. It ends up, if you put a field of them out like El Paso Electric did out here in El Paso, and you want to be a part of that free energy, you can pay more for your electric bill for that. And I don't think that's the way to go. And fossil fuels have to back them up anyway because they're unreliable. Now, should we continue research and stuff on them to make them better and to get them more affordable? I say absolutely yes. We need to be doing those kind of things. I think uranium is something we really need to be looking into a whole lot more. Palo Verde has done a great job, I think, out there, and it's a renewable energy that would be, I think, even better. Renewable energies also have their detriments too, where wind energy is killing birds and bats, especially around the Carlsbad area, and our solar, when you put out a big field, you clean that up to where there's got to be more heat radiated off of that area where the field is because there's no vegetation. You clean it up, there's no any kind of wildlife or anything like that, and I don't think that's good for New Mexico either.
Thank you.
Ricky, what actions do you advocate to improve the accessibility and quality of healthcare in New Mexico, if any?
If that is leading to a one-payer Medicare type system, I don't believe government-run healthcare works. I look at the Veterans Administration and say we have not. That's one of the most expensive healthcare type of healthcare in the world, and it is. I don't think we've done very good by our veterans. It's starting to get better, but now what have we done? We've let them go to privatized places rather than having to go through the Veterans Administration and their hospitals and their doctors. And I think that was a really good idea. Privatization, I think, can do a better job and you get better care. And I believe it can be cheaper. If one of the things that all states do is you only let 3 or 4 different insurance companies or big companies come in to our states. And if we would open that up and for free market enterprise, capitalism at its best, I think it would be regulated better. I think you would get better health. I think the prices would come down because we're not creating monopolies in these states with only 2 or 3 different companies in the state. And so so I believe that just privatizing healthcare would be the best way to go.
Thank you, Kathy.
Ricky, do you favor an open primary as a way for independents and decline to state voters to participate in primary elections? And explain.
On this, I had just talked about this with one of my constituents the other day, as a matter of fact, and I'm kind of up in the air on this. I haven't really done enough research on it to really say, and I told him the same thing. It could sway different sides depending on if you wanted to have a negative outcome come out on something, and yet they are voters. They are, they should be a part of the election system also. And so I really probably have to look into it a little bit more. I'm inclined to say that I would like them to be able to go ahead and vote. If everybody was honest and voted the way they wanted to, rather than the wrong way to sway the other side off one way or the other, I could feel a lot better about it. But I believe they do have a right to have some kind of voice in our primary.
Thank you.
Ricky, moving on to the next question. What is the role of the state, if any, in abortion regulation?
I will fall back on, I believe in the sanctity of life, and I'm a Christian, so my beliefs and the beliefs I believe that this country was founded upon is a pro-life type of situation, to where we and with the euthanasia thing, it's kind of the same thing, where I feel like it shouldn't be up to man, and as a matter of fact, in the pro-choice movement, I mean, the choice to me is not to get pregnant in the first place. That's where your choice comes in. To use it for birth control, I think, is absolutely wrong. I will say that in the places of incest, rape, and abuse, those kind of things, I would be open. I believe that's an evil put against somebody, and whether they should have to take care of that full term and do whatever, I'm just not sure. But the state, I think we have a responsibility. Morals and values and principles we have to have those. In places where you don't have those, you're looking at places like Seattle and Portland, where if you're not going to run by the rules and laws of this country and abide by those, we're not going to have a country. It's going to be completely chaotic. You've got to have some, and I believe that the Judeo-Christian values are what our judicial system is founded on, and I feel like that's where we're at on that, and I feel like we shouldn't have abortion.
Okay, Kathy.
Ricky, should we establish public financing for state elections? Explain.
it would be nice if I say we could afford it. We don't seem to be affording the things that we're doing now. It might help it equalize across the board as far as people being elected for how much money they can spend. Uh, and this is probably related to uh, lobbyists and money, but I will say that even in the system that we have with lobbyists, the lobbyists that I work with, they know what I stand for. They know that I'm gonna, if they're asking me to do something that's gonna help one particular industry or whatever else, I appreciate their support, but I'm not going. I may not vote the way they want me to, and if they don't want that, then they don't need to donate to my cause. I think it would help us get better people into the legislature as far as people that could, because a lot of people can't afford it. My first time getting into the legislature only took $13,000, and I made it. I did. It was a lot of work and a lot of time. But the second time I spent $40,000 and I did not make it. The third time I spent about $55,000 and then I made it for the next 2 terms. And then the time I lost, I spent about $75,000. So it's getting so expensive that it's hard for just the normal people who I really believe should be in the legislature to be able to get in.
Thank you.
Ricky, what would you change, if anything, about the current campaign finance laws in New Mexico?
I don't know that. I'm not sure that the limits really are making the difference that they should. And money does make a difference, because the more money you have, the more you can advertise and the more things you can do. There's no doubt about it. I think that maybe transparency in who is giving to your campaign would, and we have it on our websites. I mean, or on the legislative website and stuff. But maybe getting more of that out before the public, so you can see who's donating to somebody, so that you can know what that's about. The limits, I don't know. I think there's probably, unfortunately, just like our tax laws and stuff, there's a lot of ways in and out and those kind of things. And so I'm just not sure what we could necessarily do to change it at this time. That's about all I have on that.
Okay, Kathy.
Ricky, I'm going to come back to the state constitution again.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain whether you do or do not support an amendment to the state constitution to compensate legislators for their service beyond the per diem amounts they currently receive.
I will say that being there in the legislature, it's a little bit tough for the lay person, the person that's working. I was lucky in my case that I had a son coming up in my business, and he was able to pretty much take over. This becomes a full-time job, and I think it might help, and it might help because we could get some good people in there if we had a certain amount of pay. And I wouldn't say it would have to be too high, but it's funny though, because when you look at some of the people in the legislature, they seem to be doing fine, and I don't know where they get their money from, but they seem to do better by the time they go out. For me, it costs me a little bit of money to be in the legislature each year, and so it's and it may help as far as that also, because if there was a little bit of pay, you wouldn't have to be looking for outside sources to help make that work in trying to be a legislator. And so I don't know. But I know that I think Representative McMillan, when he tried that about 4 or 5 years ago, he didn't get reelected. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about how well that is, and that's one of the reasons I voted against it myself, because I just felt like the constituents are wanting you to do work, and But I believe it is worth paying some for. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, final question, Ricky. Would you support the establishment of a state bank in New Mexico? Explain.
No, I don't. I'll just flat out tell you, I really believe that for government's got enough issues, and a lot of times we get into the stuff like Social Security and veterans and whatnot, and I think we mess it up, healthcare even. So I think leaving it in the private system gives us there's more accountability. At least there's records and more accountability out there in the private sector. And I don't know why we would definitely want to. We have plenty of banking and banking systems operating now, and I believe that it would help. It would put some of those out of business by having a state banking system. So, and the accountability is a very big thing too. So I think it's better to have it without a state bank.
All right, lots of interesting issues to discuss today. We are actually out of time now, and we want to thank everyone for joining us for Election 2020, New Mexico House District 53, and we thank candidate Ricky Little and my co-host, Kathy Brook. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
All right,
Yes.
Take care. For all of us at KRWG News, I'm Fred Martino. Have a great week.